Everybody, this is Josh Valenti again with the final video of the I'm Alright song. We're going to actually be doing the mastering for this track, so that'll be pretty exciting. Okay, let's get started. Basically what I like to do when I master is basically get away from the mix for a few days, let my ears rest, and then come back to it. When I come back to it, I like to have a few things already, going on in my head, like what I didn't like originally. When I first listen to it, there'll obviously be a couple things that stick out. I want to make sure that these are not things. Oh, there's my dog. Make sure these are not things that are inherently wrong in the mix. Maybe it's something in the performance that kind of made something pop out that I didn't really rectify in the mix. But at the time of mixing, I felt like, this is the best I could do with what I had right now. I was confident. I got off my desk really thinking, hey, this is awesome. When I come back to mastering, I'm looking at it as if a client brought this into me. I'm looking at it completely objectively, or at least I'm trying to. So what I do is I do bring in a sample of a song. So in this case, it is Love My Life. It's a Carlos Santana song. It kind of has the same vibe. It might be the same key even as I'm Alright, but it has the same kind of sounds I want, the same kind of overall feel. So let's give that a listen, just like a piece of it. Start off from the very top.
You got it on Carlos Santana, yeah.
Anyway, you can tell right off the bat that we have a couple similarities. We have similarities. We have a nice strong drum intro. We have a nice main guitar part. The parts play a totally different role. One is more of a sparse rhythm part and a lead, while the other in this Love My Life track is more of a really dominant, thick, super present, semi-lead tone. It's a really weird, vibey, unique part to this song, which I don't think the electric guitar in I'm Alright is going to be playing that same part. So let's I'm going to go ahead and bypass what I've done so far, and we're going to listen to the track straight. Let's give it a listen. So right off the bat, I could definitely hear that the Santana song is louder and thicker all over the place. So now that I have an idea of what sounds like what, I'm actually going to start diving in and get into my mastering chain here. I like to start off with the BX Digital V2, which is basically it's an MS compressor. So you got your mono section, and then you have your stereo section. I like to call it more your mid, basically your middle, and then your sides. And what I like to do is make sure that my sides are nice and bright. Brainworks does a great job at making sure that we are always looking at mono compatibility and making sure that everything is as nice and tidy as possible. And we could even get some width in here and make sure that it's totally not blowing our phase out. So let's start off with just putting a little bit of EQ. Maybe we could add some sheen to the mix if we found any parts that were dull. For the most part, I still think it was alright. I did do a couple little bumps, but let's just give it a listen. I'm actually going to go to a part that's a little bit more heavy. Let's go over like chorus.
As I pick up the pieces that I've left in me, I'm alright. Be away from you, and I'll be fine.
I'm going to start by just rolling off the lows on the sides. So let's just listen to the sides. A good thing about this EQ is that I could actually separate the mid and the sides. So let's listen to just the sides here. I'm going to add a little shimmer here in the sides. I think I want to get that a little higher. Just that little bit of that extra non-annoying. It'll kind of make one part nice little impact there. Kind of made things pop just a little more in terms of the Guido, and even the electric guitar did a little something. I like that. One thing you also notice here is that I have a de-esser going on, basically picking up anything that's super harsh. I'm backing that out and making sure that everything's just working just right. Nothing's really cutting people's ears and ripping out their eardrums. So yep, this feels good to me. Backing out just enough. If you look at my settings here, it's at 11K, and just kind of, no one really wants to have all that bashing out their ears anyway. So let's give a listen to the middle.
As I pick up the pieces that are left in me, I'm alright. Being away from you, and I'll be fine.
And if you can hear, I'm just basically looking to make sure everything is punchy still, giving it a nice sheen up top. I did do a bit of a presence shift. If I were to just knock that up a bit.
I'm alright. As I pick up the pieces that are left in me, I'm alright.
That was crazy. I'll back this down.
I'm alright.
And usually what I do if I'm not totally sure what something's doing is that I will actually just crank it. So let's do that.
I'm alright. As I pick up the pieces that are left in me,
That's pretty harsh. I'm gonna back it down.
I'm alright. As I pick up the pieces that are left in me, I'm alright. Being away from
So that feels about right there. We're also gonna just listen to what the de-esser's pulling out. I have it at 9K.
I'm alright.
So we can kind of hear what it's picking up is actually the guitar strums kind of backing off a little bit of that attack, which I might add back in the Ozone component of my mastering. I might just give back a little bit of those transients, but we're just kind of taking some of that initial harshness out of the top with EQ. Yep, so I feel like I'm done here. What I do like to do now is check a little bit of mono compatibility of what we have, and then maybe, if I feel it necessary, give it a little more width. So let's give it a listen.
I'm alright. As I pick up the pieces that are left in me, I'm alright. Being away from you, and I'll be fine. Cleaning out the corner, putting back in order. I know I will always have this too. A little piece of you.
So we did hear that we did lose a few things when we did go straight to mono. What we lost were more of we lost a little bit of the snare room, but again, we don't want to totally flip our mix, totally just tailor it to the mono audience. A lot of people still do consume via mono. If you're in your car, you're not listening to perfect stereo. You're almost never in the sweet spot when you're in a car. In a concert, you just have giant speakers blaring. You need to be in a handful of positions in a stadium to hear it perfectly stereo, so you're not really getting the full experience there. But at the same time, people wearing headphones, it's not exactly stereo, but it's like a really extreme stereo, and they'll really feel when things are a little bit wider. So I feel like we can actually give it a little bit more width. So I'm going to go ahead and use this knob over here, the stereo width, and see what that does. Let's give it a listen.
I'm alright. As I pick up the pieces that are left in me, I'm alright. Being away from you, and I'll be fine. Cleaning out the corner, putting back in order. I know I will always have this too. A little piece of you.
So if you were paying attention, it's pretty subtle, but you can hear how things just get a little bit brighter and a tad bit wider. Nothing crazy. That's kind of what we're looking for, is to make sure that things have their space in terms of sonic width, and that it sounds polished, it sounds radio ready, which is our goal here. I'm going to go ahead and close that. I'm going to fire up Ozone. Okay. What I do is that since I did use the EQ before, I'm not actually going to use the EQ. You can tell here I actually tried to cheat and match the EQ from this track over here from the reference track, and it just wasn't giving me the results I was looking for. Sometimes the match is spot on, and I'll give it a shot. If it works, it works. A client's really not going to complain to me and say, hey, it looks like you matched this track. They're going to say, hey, it sounds great, end the story. But that's neither here nor there. Let's move on to reverb. That was an utter failure, that match thingy. Reverb. What I did here with the reverb, some of you might be asking, well, why did he add reverb to the mix as a whole? What I was trying to go for, I felt that the mix at the time I was working on it, I'm going to turn this off so we don't blow out our ears. At the time I was working on it, it felt a little hollow in terms of just super dry in some parts, and I feel like just a tad more wetness with a reverb, a tad more reverb can kind of give it that dimension. So yeah, we did add width. Maybe we want to add a little bit more 3D and a hair of reverb. I have 21%. I might actually be dialing that down in a second, but we could just give it a listen. Let's go ahead and do that.
As I pick up the pieces that are left in me, I'm alright. Being away from you, and I'll be fine. Cleaning up the corner, putting back in order.
I did notice one thing. It kind of sucks itself in here. Let's do it. That was pretty good. Let's actually listen to the reverb. I did do a little bit of EQing to it up here, just kind of really broadband stuff. Let's see what I did. You can see I did cut off a little some of the lows. I don't want any mud. And I also did tail off the high end. You don't want things just kind of piercing out there, floating out there, because they become too audible. You want this to sit back there, so you're going to take off some of that presence up in the top end. So that's what I did here. I'm going to go ahead and do the solo. And you could tell it was very subtle what it did. It just kind of gave it that little bit of extra space that when we compress and use the limiter there, it's really going to stand out and make a huge difference. We might actually come back to the end if I remember and turn it off once everything is maximized. So let's go ahead and go to the harmonic exciter, which has a special place in my heart. You could get really crazy with this thing, or you can do it just right. When I first started using Ozone, I thought it was the most amazing thing in the world, this harmonic exciter, and I made stuff really, really muddy. So as I got more attuned to it, once I started using it with my other references, I realized that I really didn't need to do all that much with it, just the little subtleties. If you do notice, I did kind of spank that low end, but let's see what it does. Let's give it a listen. I'm gonna start without it. Just that hit right there. So again, you could tell it makes that kick on those toms just like rumble. I'm gonna give it a little bit more of this low mids. I feel like it could. When I was listening back to this guide track,
You got Don Carlos Santana. Yeah.
I have a little bit of bass envy. My bass doesn't seem as as thumping as that. It's not kicking my ass. I kind of have a little bass envy, and I know where my bass lives. If you remember, it lives in that 300-ish range, which is actually in here somewhere. Well, it's kind of more to like over here-ish. But anyway, I want to give it some more of that frequency. I want it to have that richness, which is what this track here, the guide, had. So I'm going to use that to my advantage here. Let's give it a listen.
Where will my heart come back to life? I'm alright. As I pick up the pieces that are left in me, I'm alright. Being away from
So again, before,
where will my heart come back?
you could definitely hear that the bass just kind of was like, boom, I'm out. What's up? I'm bass. Let's do this. It really just stood out really nicely. I'm really digging it. A lot happier with where the bass is now. Just that little bit, I had like at 2 point something. That little bit just really made it stick out. Obviously, the bass plays a different role in the song, like I said before, but I really did like that bass in that song. I thought it deserved a little more love than what I was giving it. So there it is. In terms of the high mids and the highs, I feel like they have enough sparkle and sheen with this setting. Again, Ozone has so many settings. You could jump into warm, retro, tape, tube, triode, dual triode. You could go nuts. I just stuck with tube. And even really cranked, if you wanted that sound, you could definitely use this as a standalone and get that nice crunchy sound in place of Saturn. So it's a great tool. But move on from there, I'm going to go to Dynamics and get into their crazy set of compressors. So as you can see, these are all compressors by band. So I could actually jump in here and compress each frequency differently. Obviously, it does have crossovers. So if you compress here, this little piece is going to get compressed. Also, when you compress this part, you're also going to compress it. So there are some crossover issues, if you want to call them that. But it's just learning to work with them. This setting I did have, I wasn't even using this one, to be honest. I was more focused on each band alone. Then as I got in there, I just kind of did what I needed to do to kind of compress them. The compressor settings on this plugin are a little nuts. You can gate, limit, and compress on the same plugin, and you could use this graphic feature. Each knob, each one of these nodule things controls a different piece of it. I found that way too confusing. I know what these controls do. I kind of lived in this world, so I was able to go in there and tweak that. Just again with my mouse wheel, go in and tweak this the way I wanted it. This was actually hard to do because there are just so many options. I needed to hear and really feel what I was doing. So if you just want to go and make note about what I did, barely did anything up here. So let's see what I did to the low end here in terms of compression.
Where will my heart come back to life? I'm alright as I pick up the pieces that I've left in me. I'm alright, being away from you, and I'll be fine. Cleaning out the corner, putting back in order. I know I will always have this too, a little piece of you.
If you see, I was just kind of exaggerating it to kind of show you what it'll do. But again, pretty cool. The mids there, I think everything was just, it was just fine, just barely. Isn't that weird when I started kind of clicks? Check that spot.
Where is the peacefulness of mine?
Weirdness.
Where will my heart come back to life? I'm alright as I pick up the pieces that I've left in me. I'm alright, being away from you, and I'll be fine. Cleaning out the corner, putting back in order. I know I will always have this too, a little piece of you.
So what I'm doing there is just making sure that everything is in its place. Nothing is really popping out. I think I'm going a little too hard on this. But basically what we want to do is make sure that we don't have any frequencies or any basically parts of the frequency spectrum really just jumping out at us. Unless we want them to, unless that's part of the character of the mix. But right now we kind of just want to even things out if they need evening. I feel like this one did need a little work. This stereo image plugin I tend to stay away from for the most part, just because I did do a little bit of widening. I never feel like the high end could get a little bit, so I did high and high mid, just a hair, and let's see how that feels.
Where is the peacefulness of mine? Where will my heart come back to life?
You could definitely hear something there.
Where is the peacefulness of mine? Where will my heart come back to life? I'm alright as I pick up the pieces that I've left.
And sorry for you guys listening, every time I hit start, that really harsh pop there, it feels like it's just blowing up. It's really weird. Again, sorry here. And for the plosives, I'm not using a pop filter. I'm just trying to record this with the 57. So again, pardon. I'm gonna look at that. I don't like that. I'm gonna jump into the maximizer now. So here's where I think everyone should lower their speakers, because this bad boy is gonna make it loud. I'm actually gonna do that for you a little bit. I'm gonna run over to my main out that's feeding the software, and I'm gonna go ahead and lower that. Give me a second. So yeah, I had a little bit over. Usually when I print my mixes, I run through a summing mixer, and I like to give it a little extra so I get some of that transformer sound into my mix. That's obviously not something a plugin can do. So anyway, I kind of have it back to the middle. Let me give it another listen. Just another look here. Give me a second. Yep, that looks good to me, and let's listen to it maximize. So again, cover your ears for a second.
I know the season's right for change.
So boom, that got right in your face immediately. You can tell by those hits. Oh, I wish I could stop it. Probably can, I just don't know how. But anyway, this is where I do the bulk of my damage here in terms of loudness. The mix itself was pretty soft. If you haven't noticed, I usually mix pretty low, and then I basically do have to give the mastering engineer some headroom. I'd rather them tell me crank it up than bring it down, which I actually have heard. Make it a little bit louder, so I do. But I like this whole limiting maximizing deal kind of the best to what I've heard to my ears. I've heard a bunch of them, a bunch of the famous ones, more popular ones, and I actually like this one a whole bunch. Kind of my favorite. I think this and Pro L by FabFilter. This one is just so convenient because they're all in this one little bundle. It's really nice. So I tend to use it. It has the same kind of character features as FGX, same transient recovery as FGX, kind of got the same deal, and then it even has like a dither type, which is nice. So yep, let's go ahead. I set it at transparent just because I really don't want to kind of hear any sort of character in terms of my limiting. I feel like I have enough character baked into the mix and the other harmonic, exciting reverb, dynamics, and stereo imaging that I really don't need any more character. In terms of transient recovery, this is more what I was talking about when we were doing EQ. The de-assing kind of took off some of those hits from the acoustic guitar. We're going to kind of add those back very slightly. I'm not a huge fan, so let's give it a listen. So you can kind of hear right there, we did get some more of that attack back, which is my favorite part here. So let's go ahead. Now that I have a good idea, I'm going to listen to the song, to the sample.
You got the Don Carlos antenna. Where I wanna be. Through your eyes, all the things I wanna see.
Being away from you.
I feel like I give it a little bit more limiting. Let's give it a listen.
I'm alright. As I pick up the pieces that are left of me, I'm alright. Being away from you, and I'll be fine. Cleaning up the corner, putting back in order. I know I will always have this too, a little piece of you.
I feel like this is good. The Santana mix is just, it's good.
Where I wanna be. Through your eyes, all the love of my life.
Ooh, that is nice. Again, just let my ears get used to it, tease my ears, and then I'm gonna punish them with my mix.
Help me dry all my tears and help me allay all my fears and help me, I think I am falling to sleep, I hear it calling. Help me dry all my tears and help me allay all my fears and help me, I think I am falling to sleep, I hear it calling. I'm alright. As I pick up the pieces that are left in me, I'm alright.
So yep, that's what we got so far. I'm gonna go ahead and keep on working this, trying to get it up to that same level, but I'm gonna just let the video go at this point. So if you guys have any more comments or questions, be sure to put them in the comment section. I am gonna again put the links to everything to the SoundCloud, I'm gonna put the links up to the actual stems. You can go ahead and mix it yourself if you have some time. Just put it up there, share with the community, and yep, I will hopefully hear from you guys soon. See ya.